Okay, so I'll continue with the question 4. What lessons can you draw from the life of the Buddha, to achieve efficiency in the management of your daily affairs? That means learning from the Buddha's life and how do we apply it in our daily life or daily affairs. So introduction. In one's daily life, be it the Buddha or oneself, there are many and various chores, activities, events, and things that happen throughout the day. It may be personal, family, community, national, or international in perspective. How well one handles these depends on one's agility, states of conditions, that is the body and mind, and the skills. There are various ways or approaches where the Buddha's teachings can help guide one and improve or increase the efficacy in managing one's daily life. So let's go into it in more detail, one by one. First, right view and right intention. So each morning, begin the day with clarity of one's aims and purpose. In Majjhima Nikaya 9, Sammaditthi Sutta, it defines what is right view from various perspectives. That is from the mundane right until the supramundane. And wholesomeness brings joy and peace. Unwholesomeness causes unpleasantness and disturbance. So do wholesome and reduce unwholesome in speech, actions, and thoughts. There will be less regret and remorse. One may ask, what reduces desire, anger, and ignorance? Then we align one's task with wholesome intention or frame it within all the 8 path factors. So intention will help shape the efficiency. Number 2, precepts. Remind and keep the precepts. Remind is to remind ourselves that about the precepts. Then keep the precepts is to maintain the precepts in our daily life. Be it 5 precepts, 8 precepts, 10 precepts, and keep it well throughout the day. These are the guardrails against the wrong and harmful actions. So avoid the 10 unwholesome deeds. The dasa ducharita or dasa akusala kamapata. It's just the same thing, but different terms are being used. So besides abstaining against wrongdoings, one can do and cultivate the active or the positive aspects of the precepts too. For example, we can cultivate and frequently do the 10 wholesome deeds and the 10 meritorious actions. We can also be gentle, friendly, kind, and truthful. By practicing the precepts, generally one becomes more gentle, more friendly, more kind, and more truthful. Third, mindful and clear awareness. Do one task at a time and with mindfulness and clear awareness. So to have mindfulness and clear awareness, it's difficult to do multitasking. But if you want to do a single task at a time, it's easier to have mindfulness and clear awareness. So this daily practice will also help one to cultivate and develop both mindfulness and awareness, clear awareness, be it while doing things or thinking. When it becomes a habit, it will also be very helpful when one pursues spirituality, as in Digha Nikaya 22, Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Multitasking has the tendency to breed restlessness, uddhacca, because when one is used to multitasking, the mind tends to jump here and there, thinking this and that. So it actually creates a habit of moving around very fast, dealing with different different topics, different tasks. So as a result, that habit stays, and when you do meditation, this restlessness state will come and haunt the meditator. On the other hand, single tasking generally improves focus. And at the same time, the quality and the speed will increase. So those who are habitual in doing single tasking will actually find that when they come to meditation, it actually helps them a lot. So number 4 is efforts. Prioritize the wholesome aspect, the wholesome impact. As in Digha Nikaya 22, Mahasatipatthana Sutta, use the 4 right efforts, that is, prevent the unwholesome states, 2, abandon the recent unwholesome states, 3, cultivate the wholesome states, 4, maintain the recent wholesome states. So how do we translate it into daily life? We can have a to-do list. So the first one is avoid distractions. Right? That means to prevent the unwholesome states. Then the second one is stop the harmful loops. That means when the unwholesome state arises, stop it. Don't let it continue on. Stop the loop. The third one is start meaningful tasks. That means we actually start something meaningful, something wholesome. So that has to come from the wholesome states of mind. Then the fourth one is sustain the good momentum. That means the good states, the good thoughts, we can try to sustain and develop it more so that it has a good momentum to continue on. So the fifth aspect is the speech. So in daily life, living within a community, speech is one key component. It's a communication. It's also a life or a workflow lubricant. Ask once to abstain from wrong speech. Rather, cultivate the usage of right speech. Or when you speak, check for this. Is it truthful, beneficial, appropriate? Is it kind and with gentle tone? And is it at the right time? And in the current context, that means in our current days, one may also extend this to emails and online messaging. Consequently, there will be very much fewer emails because there is better clarity. And when we do in assignment within a teamwork, there'll be less rework. No? That means revising after revising. There'll be less of such work. Then when it comes to meetings, you will have fewer meetings, yet it gives a better outcomes. And of course, there'll be less adversity, less conflict, and less misunderstanding. And gradually become more harmonious, and there is a better and peaceful living condition. So naturally, efficiency and productivity will increase. So the sixth aspect is the wise attention. So in daily life, there are always ups and downs. Together with mindfulness and clear awareness, one could frequently reflect inwards to understand what causes or triggers certain emotions or sensations, like feelings or bodily discomfort. Or one can also ask, what triggers this delay? That means the project delay or the assignment was delayed. Or what triggers the stress, the emotion? These are various questions that one can pose to oneself. So from these questions, we will look for the answers. And when we know the answer, knowing these answers, one can remove the cause or the conditions that lead to this situation, rather than dealing with only the symptoms. That means, for example, when there's a delay, we just burn the midnight oil and try to finish the work. Because of the rushing, schedule, then you will have a lot of other issues that may come along because of for example, negligence, not considered deep enough. So it definitely helps in terms of increasing the efficiency of daily life activities. If we can avoid all those triggers. So number 7 is the contentment. So simplify one's possessions and commitments. When one has fewer needs, it's easier to live simply, be contented, and yet peaceful. And one will be less tempted by desire and greed. So basic needs are few, but wanting and desire are unlimited. In Anguttara Nikaya 4.28, Ariya Vamsa Sutta, he explained clearly one's basic needs are only 3 was listed there: food, clothing, and lodging money. The 4th one is joy of meditation. So contentment can be easily satisfied if we know what are our basic needs. And so long as that basic needs are there, we can be contented. And by being contented, we tend to be less tempted by greed. Number 8 is reflection and review. In Majjhima Nikaya 61, Ambalatika Rahulo Vada Sutta, there is the advice to Rahula. Buddha taught his son Rahula to reflect before, during, and after. That is, before speaking, you have to reflect. During speaking, you have to reflect. Then after speaking, you also reflect. Is it good or bad? If it's bad, don't do it again, or stop it there if it's possible. So in Anguttara Nikaya 5.57, Abhinya Pachao Veki Taba Tana Sutta, Buddha taught us to regularly or frequently use reflections or reviewing. So one can use this reflection and review method to help improve and manage one's actions, speech, thoughts, as well as time, that means the scheduling, for example, and to increase productivity. So normally the more one reflect and review, of course, initially it will take time, but with practice, we find that this reflection and review helps to improve the what we call the efficiency, as well as the quality of the products. Number 9 is guard the sense doors. And this guarding the sense door is actually very prominent in Buddhist, in the suttas. So it helps to reduce the noises. That means all kind of disturbances, attractions, desires, and all those, and temptations that agitate the mind. So to guard the senses, one also needs mindfulness, wise attention, and effort. So regularly and frequently prompt the mind to look inward and observe what is happening in the mind. So that will help one to guard the sense door better. And when it becomes habitual, it becomes easier and easier, and there'll be less noise. Or even if there's noise, the noise, one will not be easily carried away by the noises. Number 10 is nutriments. So in Majjhima Nikaya 9, Samadhi Sutta, it listed 4 kinds of nutriment or fuel, namely food, contact, intention, and consciousness. So in Anguttara Nikaya 7.61, Pachalaya Mana Sutta, Buddha encouraged his Sangha members and lay disciples to eat moderately. Because after a meal, if one is too full, one becomes lethargic and sleepy. On the other hand, when one is hungry, one could not focus and energy could not sustain steady energy that is required. Thus, one needs to know the right balance of food and nutrition such that it provides the necessary energy and nutrients for a healthy body and to function properly. Here, function properly meaning to say to actually carry out one's daily life as well as for spiritual development. And in this case, here the nutriment emphasized is the food. It's not so much about the contact, the intention, and consciousness. That will come when once come into spiritual, what you call cultivation. Number 11 is the four divine abiding Brahma Vihara. So in daily life, many conditions and circumstances can arise and it can challenge one's what you call mind state. By practicing and cultivating metta, one could help to reduce frictions and soften harshness as well as the challenges. Indirectly, it improves teamwork and generate good ambience. Compassion, such as helping those in need or even wishing to relieve others' sufferings. Besides doing goodness, one may also gain joy and happiness. And this joy and happiness are the catalysts for doing a task well and efficiently. Similarly, with appreciative joy, mudita. While after having tried various ways and means, one may or may not achieve the desired goal. One may use upekkha so that one may have stability and peace of mind. Number 12 is good friendship. As in Samyutta Nikaya 45.2, Upada Sutta, half of spiritual life is it's important and always beneficial to choose suitable and good friends, colleagues, advisors, and teachers. Keep them well, as it could help shorten one's learning curves. Minimize and safeguard against one's missteps and policy. Encourage and boost one's morale when one is down or facing setback. Number 13, rest and sleep. A rested mind is faster and kinder. So do sleep well and wake up fresh. It minimizes sloth and torpor. After lunch or a meal, take a short rest or a nap, especially when one ages or enters the final stage of life. So in conclusion, these are some aspects of application from learning the teachings of the Buddha that can help one manage one's daily life more efficiently and meaningfully. There are also other ways, such as the model of gradual learning, avoiding the 3 unwholesome roads and doing the 3 wholesome roads, etc. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening.
Very good. Cover most of the thing. Any question? Anything
about
add on?
the rested, good rest, something like that. The last point.
Okay.
Did Buddha really say have to take a short nap? This one is you add yourself or make one?
I think
from
it's
the Buddha's
related.
teaching.
I think back then we did hear the story of the musician who practiced too tightly and too so-called hard, but then he couldn't achieve anything. Then Buddha asked him to relax. Then because say the string, if you pull it too tightly, it will break. I think that's related.
Not only that, there's another one. You remember the Moggallana prior to he attaining the arahantship, Buddha appears in front of him, and then he told him the various texts when they slot and topper. Did you all read that sutta?
Yeah, then so
so the finally if say the slot and topper still cannot be overcome, then Buddha told him, go and have a good rest or sleep. Okay? And before you go to sleep, have a mindset whereby you set at what time you want to wake up. And when you wake up straight away. See, so that is what it means by you need to have a proper rest. Okay? Now, of course, I have to put it in my own words. If I were to quote the text, it will be quite long because in a whole sutta is a very long sutta actually.
Okay.
And then on the food, I think slot and topper is not to eat too much. Is like, for example, the sutta about
That one I read that one is about the king don't know which king already. He went that one I knew. This one I am not sure in the Buddha's routine whether in the afternoon he take a nap or not cannot remember that part.
You see,
After his lunch, right? Then not very sure whether he take a nap or not.
He take a rest
Okay. Because when you say take a short nap, like not in the teaching but got short rest, yes but okay lah. Generalization. Okay.
This is for daily life, not for Buddha. This is for daily life.
And then the part where you say the clear awareness and mindfulness and wise attention and reflection and review, right? Actually, I think, yes, I can, but it's actually kind of mean the same thing, right? You have to have the clear awareness and the mindfulness, then only you can have the wise attention, then only you can reflect, it kind of like can be in the same point lah. I don't know, but no harm to split to three also lah. I'm just saying it's like a interlinked.
No, if you see sometimes for example, sometimes we reflect on things but we are not clear. It seems that not sure. So if you do not have the clear awareness and mindfulness, when one do reflection, it's not going to be very effective. But when a person has good mindfulness and clear awareness, then later he can apply wise attention to have a deeper understanding. Then when you do reflection and review, it helps to strengthen the front three aspect of it. Right? Initially also I got problem how to actually break it. I thought it's all linked together, but later when I look at the process of learning, then I find that these are individual minor steps that strengthen one after another. For example, we can reflect on something which we are not familiar. How effective would that reflection be or that review be? It's not going to be good. It's not going to be very helpful. But if we have been very attentive, then when we do reflection and review, it's just like, for example, when we may have heard over the audio, then when we review it with the with the video clip, you find that the pictorial it becomes better reflection or better review when we revise it. But it's just merely audio. Sometimes we have difficulty getting the clarity of the review of the knowledge. I don't know. I'm not too sure whether I get the message through.
Okay.
Don't worry. I also included my something the rest and recap yourself. So I send the thing to your email, you go and read through something like this. Okay. So we go to the next question.
Okay, that's my question. Okay, my question is indicate how the ministry of the Buddha served to elevate the status of women in society. So the introduction, the inequality of women in society is a global issue. Though we see much improvement in the women's status in the society in the 21st century, there's still lots of disparity in politics, economies, and social life, driven by gender discrimination and ingrained cultural norms. Some facts on inequality: wage gap. Women on average earn less than men for similar work, a gap that widens with career advancement. As of 2023, the average gender wage gap in OECD, I didn't check what is the long-term countries, was 11.5%. Underrepresentation. Women are underrepresented in political leadership roles globally, holding fewer than 19% of heads of state positions in 2024, according to United Nations Women. Child marriage. Millions of girls are married before the age of 18 each year, impacting their health and education and often making them dependent on men. Lack of political representation. Women remain significantly underrepresented in leadership and decision-making roles globally. As of 2025, women held only 27.2% of seats in national parliaments, and 102 countries have never had a female head of state. Next. Needless to say, the issue of inequality also existed in India 2,500 years ago, where women had no society status and often being disregarded. Women were usually regarded as greatly inferior to men, both physically and mentally. Women were looked down upon as a mere possession or thing. A woman who was believed to be unable to go to heaven through her own merits. A married woman who could not produce a male offspring was most likely seen as, or most likely been superseded by a second or third wife, or chased out from the house. It was in the midst of such extreme social discrimination and degrading attitudes toward women that the Buddha made his appearance in India. His teachings on the real nature of life and death, about karma and samsaric wanderings, gave rise to considerable changes in society attitudes towards women in his days. So, how did the Buddha serve to elevate? First, in the social context. According to the law of karma, Buddha taught the law of karma that one is responsible for one's own action and its consequence. The well-being of a father or grandfather does not depend upon the arrival of a male offspring. Such enlightened teachings help to reduce the anxiety of women who were unable to produce sons to perform the rites of the ancestors. Second, in the days of the Buddha, other religious teachers spoke on duties and obligations of a wife towards her husband, that is to bear an offspring, rendering faithful service, and provides conjugal happiness and heavenly bliss. However, little was mentioned about the duties of a husband to his wife. In this Sigala Vada Sutta, the Buddha clearly mentioned the duties of a husband towards wife and vice versa. The third, general equality. The Buddha, on learning of King Pasidani of Kosala, was displeased that his queen had just given birth to a daughter rather than a desired son, reassured the king as follows: "A woman, O Lord of the people, may turn out better than a man. She may be wise and virtuous, a devoted wife, revering her mother-in-law." This is SN 3.16. The Buddha was compassionate towards mankind irrespective of gender. To Vaisakha, a deeply emotional grandmother who lost her granddaughter, the Buddha consoled her as the following. From affection spring grief, from affection spring fear. For one who is wholly free from affection, there's no grief, much less fear. When Patachara lost her 2 children, husband, parents, and brother under very tragic circumstances, she was in deep sorrow and was running about the streets. The Buddha consoled her as follows: there are no sons for one's protection, neither father nor even kinsmen. For one who is overcome by death, no protection is to be found among kinsmen. Realizing this fact, let the virtuous and wise person swiftly clear the way that leads to Dhamma. Hearing those words and appreciating the nature of life, Patachara attained the first stage of sainthood and entered the order of the nuns. The Buddha elevated the women's position in the society. He saw the innate potential of women to play a dynamic role as character builders for the young generation. The Buddha sought to bring the women out of seclusion to which they were confined by the weight of Brahmanic conservatism. In the legal and community protection, the Vinaya provided procedures for women's safety, property, and adjudication within the Sangha, creating structured avenues for redress and community support. While some rules reflected the era patriarchy, the existence of a codified framework nonetheless recognized women as full stakeholders in religious life. In the spiritual context, the Buddha established the Bhikkhuni order. The initial refusal to establishment of Bhikkhuni order was misconstrued bias towards the women community. When asked by Venerable Ananda, the Buddha acknowledged that the women had the ability to achieve the highest wisdom just like men. Then the Buddha allowed the establishment of the Bhikkhuni order with 8 chief rules. Second, equal chance given for women to seek higher liberation. Amongst the contemporary religious teachers, it was the Buddha who pronounced equal status to women. It was the Buddha who admitted the women were sometimes higher in intelligence than men. With the establishment of the Bhikkhuni order, many Bhikkhuni attained arahatship. Some of them were Prajapati Gotami, Venerable Upananda, and Bada Kachana. The third, the Therigatha, the collection of verses attributed to the early Bhikkhunis who demonstrated their profound spiritual understanding and joy upon achieving liberation. The presence of this text in the canonical literature is a testament to the women's spiritual accomplishment. Fourth, spiritual equality. The Buddha said all 4 assemblies, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas, upasikas, are capable of realizing the Dhamma, reinforce equal potentials. Conclusion, the Buddha can be considered as the first emancipator of women and promoter of women and gender equality. It is through the minister of Buddha that women were not despised or looked down, but were given equal status with men in the spiritual endeavors to gain wisdom and complete deliverance Nibbana.
Okay, I comment on this. The first part on the introduction of modern world, I think you can remove it because the question asked is on the 6 BC time.
Okay, no, because I thought want to say something about now and then.
No, you target what the question asked, you give what. This is during the 6
Okay.
BC. I have sent my copy to you to improve on it. So you reinforce your answer.
All right.
Okay, no question. We go to the next question. Next question.
This is the last question, number 6. What was the attitude of the Buddha to the social institution of castes? So as introduction, during the Buddha's time, Indian society adopted from the Hinduism the caste system where people are categorized by their inherent varna, which is social class and occupation, as well as birth and kinship, jati. They were divided into 4 major social strata such as the Brahmin or the priests or Vedic scholars who held ritual prestige. Second is the Kshatriya, who held political powers as ruler, administrator, or warriors. Third class will be Vaisya or merchant and farmers who were economically vital. Fourth will be Sudra or laborers, and the untouchable outcasts, Chandala, who become workers and servants who did all the menial jobs and were treated as slaves. Then it was generally accepted that the upper social classes were born pure, noble, superior, and privileged, attributed to their meritorious past lives, whereas the lower social classes, being impure, inferior, and lowly in social structure, they owned less freedom, limited economic opportunities, land ownership, and access to resources. There were discrimination that had hindered the inter-social structure interaction in terms of picking their acquaintance as their social circles, marriage partner, etc. The hierarchical caste system had hindered the selection of occupation, possibility of social mobility, etc. The social status is attributed to birth, shared ancestry, clans, occupation, etc., and remain unchanged until the end of their life. So, Buddha's attitude towards the caste system. Generally, the following reflects the Buddha's teaching and express his attitude towards the social constituency at the time. Firstly, he criticized the caste system as man-made social structure and not the creation by the divine. The Buddha considered the caste system is not the creation of the divine. The true nature of the social structure was formed based on the mutual needs to fulfill their respective role and function in response to the community's demand and supply for food, shelter, safety, etc., which is stated in Digha Nikaya 27, Aganya Sutta. The system established and developed further to the extent that one's superiority was attributed to one's birth and lineage. As a result, there was stratification in social status as the dignified upper classes, they look down upon the low life. The social structure did not promote social equity and harmony. Instead, it led to social unjust, discrimination, and violence. Second, merit over birth. Buddha taught that a person is not a Brahmin by birth, but a Brahmin by virtuous deed. Na jakja hoti Brahmano, kamana hoti Brahmano. He contended that action, not birth, determined a person's worth, a belief reflected in the concept of karma, which is found in Majjhima Nikaya 98, Pasata Sutta, and Samyutta Nikaya 1.7, Vasala Sutta. It is necessary getting to know a person by his profession and contribution instead of highlighting his Brahmin status. He had expounded the idea that true Brahmin is not defined ethnically, but by rituals and lineage, but as one of whom had cleansed the unwholesome deeds. There was a typo error. I will correct it there. Buddha pointed out that there existed wicked and cruel people as well as the virtuous and kind people in every caste. Any person who had committed a crime would be punished accordingly by his karma, no matter what caste he belongs to, refer to Digha Nikaya 27. Third one, rejection of Brahmanical authority. He criticized the authority of Vedic scriptures and challenged superiority of the Brahmins, asserting that virtuous people could be found in any caste. All four castes consist of good and bad temperament and are capable of doing good and bad deeds. In Majjhima Nikaya 93, Asalayana Sutta. All four castes are entitled for receiving their respective services and wealth, capable of going forth into homelessness to seek the truth and became successful in following the skillful training expounded by the Enlightened One. There was no universal consent, and the whole world did not authorize the Brahmin for entitlement of all types of services and wealth. In Majjhima Nikaya 93, Sukari Sutta, the Buddha had also pointed out that universal accessibility of awakening, that is, stream entry to our hardship, is open to anyone who practices the path in Samyutta Nikaya 55.7, and on four other factors of stream entry in Anguttara Nikaya 10.92, based on the 10 wholesome cultures of succession as described in Independent Origination. It is important to choose teachers and companions by zeal and diligence, who show maturity in conduct, accomplished in faith, ethics, generosity, and wisdom. That is, associated by goodness and not by status. Stated in Anguttara Nikaya 8.4. For wise spiritual guides, help one attain the mundane and spiritual happiness. 4. Institutional reform for equality in community. He initiated the radical inclusivity of the Sangha, admitting members from all castes and effectively abolishing caste distinction within the monastic community, open to all caste classes, gender within the monastic rules, and ethnic groups from former slaves, outcasts, kings, merchant condition. In Vinaya Mahavanga, ordination open to all who are free of disqualifying factors, except for those with abnormal gender and had committed 5 heinous crimes. All castes could attain. Some notable disciples came from varied castes. For example, Upali is the low caste barber, became the chief disciples in Vinaya. Sunita, who is the outcast scavenger, who ordained and attained arhanship. Many Brahmin examples, Sona, the son of the businessman, Kassapa, and Utter, the Sangha, and another Pindika, the merchant, also became the eminent lay disciples. Seniority in the monastic community was determined by ordination stage and the number of rain retreats attended. Decisions were made by communal procedures according to the Vinaya rules and not based on the social status nor birth. All Sangha members perform community labor and alms round. That is, monastic share chores and receive alms without discrimination, cultivating metta and upekkha towards all households. The daily training eroded caste habit. Other than the serious offenses, that is the 4 parajitas that caused one to disrobe, the less serious offenses such as the Sangha diseases may be dealt within the monastic tribunal procedures, involving the offenders openly confessing his fault. Through public hearing from the Sangha members, the offenders will be given a period of concealment or purification. This is the living model of class transcending community that undermine caste ideology and model an alternative merit-based community. 5. Conflict resolution and social harmony. The Buddha promoted dialogues, restraint and reconciliation in non-violence and non-punishment to resolve conflicts, contention, and strife, which is stated in Samyutta Nikaya 11.5. The Buddha advocates loving kindness as peacemaker, and more importantly, abandoning the clinging to self and that making rise to attachment and conceit, as well as ill will and hatred due to unfulfilled desires, which is stated in Anguttara Nikaya 4.200 Dhamma Sutta. The Buddha introduced metta imitation as a practical tool to de-escalate hatred. As conclusion, the Buddha had redistributed the ethical revolution of worth. He replaced birth, wealth, and ritual with virtue and wisdom as true nobility. He had initiated institutional reform whereby the monastic community embodied equality and merit and benefit the Sangha members a seniority in skillful training instead of their birth and social status. This undermined caste ideology and model an alternative merit-based community. So these are the references.
Okay, good work. My sister, she did a
Thank
lot
you.
of homework. So any comment? No comment. We have to end about 4 hours plus.